Hey everybody, this is Luis Barajas and welcome to our webinar on the world's greatest budget. I'm going to walk you through a budget that I created actually out of necessity. Years ago when I first started in financial planning, I would use the budgets that I would get through the courses that I would take or the books that I used, or even sometimes some of the famous financial planners that had written books and had budgets in their books, and realized that they all really came short to really helping a client out figure out how much money they would have at the end of the year to use as discretionary income or extra income to put towards their goals. And we were always short. And the problem was not just by a little bit, but by a lot. So I started just figuring out that we needed kind of a pseudo budget, a budget that was also almost like a cash flow statement that I can kind of take a look at the expenses throughout the year, but also just on a couple pages. So this is what I created, and we work on it all the time as we work with our clients, and I'd like to show it to you. And if you'd like a copy, you can get a copy at my Facebook page, Luis Barajas, and you can print out a copy there and use it for yourself, and it's free, and you can give copies to your friends as well. So let's get started. What you're going to need is actually just a few documents to help you locate a lot of your expenses, and so you can use your check register or the debit and credit card receipts, statements. You can have your online banking up while you're actually working on this budget. You'll also will help if you have your a pay stub or a W-2 that you get at the end of the year to do your tax return, or even actually a tax return will help you to complete this budget. Okay? So these are, four things that you'll need, and pull them out, and when you get a chance, you'll go through it. Today, you probably won't have time for that because I'm going to go through it pretty quickly. But I'd like to go through every step of the way for the budget so I can kind of explain to you where you might get stuck on certain areas, okay? All right. So we'll start with a section that says Home. And on that section there, what we want to do is we want to take a look at how much money you're actually spending on rent per month. And if you want to, you can also do it annually. And the reason why I also have monthly versus annual, because some expenses you're going to spend on an annual basis, and you're not cutting checks on a monthly basis. So I really like to do this budget multiplied on an annual basis, but I want you to write down the amount if you're spending it on a monthly basis and then multiply it by 12. So you'll do your mortgage or your rent, and then some people have an equity line of credit. You'll write down the amount of money you spend per month on that. And also what happened was that a lot of people that I was working with were also making extra principal payments toward their mortgage. And so most budgets don't have a section for this. So just something to make you aware of this. There's a line item for that. Your property taxes on your personal residence, and you can quickly look those up on your Schedule A of your tax return if you have it handy. You don't actually have to go find it. Most people make the payments somewhere around February and December. So the next section is your homeowners or renters insurance, home association dues on the also private mortgage insurance, PMI. That's also an extra added expense. Again, that's if you have less than 80% equity on a home that you're buying. They're going to make you get private mortgage insurance, and that's an added cost. Also, if you've got a timeshare or a vacation home expenses. Now, the next section is repairs and improvements. Now, nobody spends a certain amount every single month. In fact, some people don't do a repair on a home sometimes for a year or two. But you do need to do some kind of repair, and so you should kind of accrue some money for those type of expenses on a house and figure out and say, well, maybe a year I'll spend $600 on certain repairs on the house, and divide that number by 12, or just put $50 a month, or just put the annual expense of $600 if that's what you, or whatever amount you actually use. If you have a gardener, landscaping, and then if you have rental properties, right, and if you've got money coming out of your pocket to pay for those rental properties, you want to put that amount here as well, okay, because it's an expense. Now you can find also that number on the negative on the rental properties on your tax return on Schedule E. The only thing you don't want to do is you don't want to add the depreciation, because that's not really a loss, or it's not coming out of your pocket. It's just a paper loss. The next section we want to go through are the utility bills that you'll have to pay, and some of the utility bills that you do on a monthly basis or sometimes bi-monthly is water, electricity, gas, trash, your cell phone service, telephone, landline, internet service, cable service. If you got a home alarm, you can put that there, and any other kind of utility bills. Again, when most people are actually looking at doing a budget on a day-to-day budget, or they'll do it for a month, they'll realize that sometimes they forget about the utility bill, they forget about their water bill that sometimes only comes once every other month, and they don't put that down. So the purpose of this budget is to remind you of items or expenses that you forget if you're going to do just for one particular month. So that's why I call it kind of a pseudo cash flow / budget. An area that we added just a couple years back, where I started to see a lot of people spending money on, were electronics. And because everybody wants the newest and latest gadget, people go to Costco and want the bigger screen TV, and they'll upgrade every couple of years or every 3-4 years. But there's a section there for if you're spending money on TVs or cameras or game consoles. You're buying the latest iPhone, computer, laptop, or tablet. Also, if you're buying your kids software or video games, you're buying iPods, accessories for the iPods, and any other thing that you're spending on electronics. And families spend a lot a year when I go through their budget. And it was something that most people really didn't consider. They just saw the items as really being kind of small or minimal, but they do add up. We're going to move over to the next page, and we're going to take a look at the expenses you'll have for transportation. And again, real simple, right? We all know we have a car payment or car payments, but people sometimes forget the registration fees, right? I also forgot there that you have car insurance, but registration fees, when you're doing a budget, people forget about that because you usually pay those once a year. The amount of gas you're spending on average per month, car maintenance, right? Nobody's doing car maintenance on the car every single month. But if you go 2 or 3 times a year to change the oil or put tires, once every 2-3 years, what are you averaging? Put that amount down, such as an annual expense. So again, we're guesstimating there. What are you spending on parking per year, public transportation, what are other things? It could be tickets. I mean, if you get 1 or 2 tickets a year, or parking tickets, they could go there as well. Next section we're going to talk about are expenses that we have for children, and sometimes these can be some of the biggest expenses here on this budget. So let's say you're divorced and you're making child support payments. You're going to put that there. Or you have child care or babysitting. You have school tuition, school events, extracurricular activities, lessons that you're giving your kids for either sports or music or whatever. If you've hired a tutor for your kids, you're purchasing toys or games, whatever, it all goes here. Okay, so you want to be careful. Go back and take a look at your check register, take a look at prior year's expenses, and you want to line item them and then add them up. All right, as we go along here, another area where I've really broken it down to, because I think this is one of the most neglected items in a budget, and it's also one of the most unconscious items in a budget, where people will always put a lot less than what it really happens to be when we actually take a look at what the expenses are. So what I've broken it down to is, I know that people go to the supermarket, sometimes a week, every other week, or they'll go to Costco, and these are where you'll put the expenses there. But what about the specialty food or beverage stores? When I say specialty food, sometimes it could be like you go to Whole Foods, or you'll go to a beverage store, you'll go to a wine store and buy things that you normally don't do at the supermarket. Trader Joe's would be another place. And I put their sundries. I know that when I go with my wife to Target, we'll spend sometimes a lot of money on just buying stuff for the house that we need, just the day-to-day stuff. Or you'll go to Walmart or CVS, or basically go to a place where they have, a lot of stuff that just kind of go get the shampoos and all that other stuff. It'll go there. Now, I've broken out the meals pretty much, breakfast out, lunches out, dinners out, because besides shopping for food to cook at home, a lot of people are eating breakfast out or lunches, and when I ask them how much are you spending, I guarantee you most of the time they're giving me about half the amount. And I really want you to be diligent about this if you're going to take a look at the expenses. Sometimes families don't eat breakfast out, but on Sundays they go out and have a family breakfast, and they'll spend $100 on breakfast. So write those amounts out, You also want to take a look at snacks, whether during those lunch or dinner you're going to Starbucks or Jamba Juice or Pinkberry or any other place. How much you spend on a week or month or year for that. Okay. The next section that I'm moving to is clothing. And again, most of the time, a lot of people aren't buying clothes on a daily basis or monthly basis. They're going sometimes seasonally, and sometimes a lot of people just buy clothes for their children right before school time. And when you're having somebody write down a budget, they're not putting these items down, and they're forgetting about it, and you can spend a lot of money here as well. So I've broken these sections down into clothes for the adults and clothes for the kids as well. And one thing I did in the last couple of years were accessories. I never used to see people, really spending a lot of money on accessories, but the last few years I've seen a lot of people spending money on shoes and purses and watches, for example. So I broke that down so they can take a look at how much they're spending on an annual basis. And then also for dry cleaning, that's something that can also add up as well. And any other things that I've forgotten, you'd want to put that down. And I'd really actually appreciate, as we're going through this budget, if there's something that you see that I've missed that is pretty just obvious, let me know. Email me at info@luisbarajas.com, info@luisbarajas.com, and let me know, and I'll adjust it and update the world's greatest budget. Next section we're going to talk about is travel. And I love to travel and take vacations, and so I can easily put a budget to that and figure out how much I'm going to spend. But sometimes what I've forgotten is that during the year I'll take my kids to Disneyland, or when the kids were younger, we'd go to Knott's Berry Farm, and those were expenses that I never really put into a budget, and they can add up. A family of 4 or 5 going to Disneyland, you can spend $400 or $500 easily, or if not more. So you want to think about, like, when the kids are off of school in the summer, are you taking them to, we go to Six Flags Magic Mountain out here in California, and Knott's Berry Farm and Disneyland. Are you taking them to any kind of theme parks? Are you buying gifts and souvenirs? I usually don't do that, but a lot of people that I know won't go anywhere without coming back with a lot of souvenirs. So write that down as well. Okay, we're heading over to the next section, and that's entertainment. And again, one of the most neglected items on any budget that you will see, and one of the areas where people do spend a lot of money on, is entertainment. And when I talk about entertainment, we're talking about things that we do every year, is, for example, birthday parties. We may not actually have a party for one of our kids or for ourselves, but we may have a birthday dinner, and I've seen people spend $300, $400, $500 on a birthday dinner. Or you have certain special occasions, such as we've got Valentine's Day, or you've got the anniversaries, or you love to go to concerts, and you go maybe once a year, but the tickets add up. You got sporting events, theater, movies, or just movie rentals, or buying books and magazines. They add up. So these are things that you want to write down and then want to add up. Okay, and we're going to go to the next page here. And we've got now insurance. A lot of it is health-related insurance here. We're talking about health insurance, and what people forget about, even though they know what their monthly amount for health insurance is that every time they go to the doctor, they've got a deductible or a copayment that they have to make, and they can add up, and they're pretty substantial. What about dental expenses? I know people sometimes that don't go to the dentist for a couple of years, or sometimes they only go once a year. And again, you want to write that down. Prescriptions that you may have, life insurance premiums, disability insurance premiums, dental, vision, long-term care insurance. And a lot of these expenses sometimes are actually being deducted through your payroll. So you might want to take a look at the pay stub that you have and see how much they're withdrawing per month. And write the amount there if it's a monthly expense, and multiply it times 12 to get the annual expense. Going forward, we've got personal care and fitness. One of the issues that we talk about here a lot is grooming. People forget how much they spend on haircuts or manicures and pedicures and waxing and so on and so forth. And they really do add up. And there are some people that have a budget for it, and some people are absolutely just unconscious of how much they spend on an annual basis. What about gym membership fees? Or taking specialty classes like yoga, or that hot yoga, the Bikram yoga, spinning classes, cycling classes, or hiring a personal fitness trainer. Angie and I, my wife and I, love to do the cycling classes, and we buy the shoes for the cycle And those can be kind of expensive, and we buy them once every a couple of years. But that's sports equipment, so you want to take a look at that. What about supplements? Are you doing a protein shake in the morning? Are you buying specific vitamins or weight loss products? And they can add up as well. So again, write the monthly expense, multiply times 12. And anything else you're spending for hobbies. I know one of the areas there that I see men actually be very unconscious are, for example, golf fees. How much they're spending on golf per year, not only just on golf, but also on the equipment, on buying a brand new driver or getting expensive golf balls. So you want to write all that down, and you want to be honest, because this budget is not for me. It's not for anyone else to look at. You want to actually take a look at to see how much money you're spending and what you have left over, what people like to call discretionary income, to use towards your most important goals. And if for some reason you're finding out that you're spending a lot more than what's coming in, the money that you're making, we're going to have to stop that. So we're going to have to go back and take a look at the budget and figure out where you can actually make some cuts and save some money for the other important things. But you need to be honest. That's the most important thing. We want to be conscious of where the money's going. The next section that we're looking at are gifts. Again, very item that's always forgotten. For example, for birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, anniversary, special occasions, one of the things that I do when I'm working with a client is I'm saying, how many nieces, nephews, grandmothers, grandfathers, parents do you guys have? Multiply them. What's the average gift that you give them? What's your budget? Is it $50 per person, $25 per person? Multiply that times that. And is it close to what you're spending on an annual basis for birthday gifts or Christmas gifts? And again, most budgets do not have this item, don't even talk about it, and you're going to see that it adds up to a substantial amount. Okay, the next item is for pets. And again, for a lot of people, their pets, their dog, their cat, and other pets are just like their children. How much do you spend for food or supplements or treats for your pet? And what about vet bills? Wow, talk about vet bills. I have a little Yorkie that every time we go to the vet, it's $150 to $250, and it can add up. Grooming. What if you work all day, you live in an apartment, and you hire a walker for your dog? Daycare or a kennel if you go on vacation. It adds up. So if you take a vacation once a year and you leave your dog in a kennel, how much are you spending on that? Write it all down, again, monthly or annual expense. The next section we want to talk about are investing or investments. What are you saving for your emergency reserves? Are you putting away $25 a month or more? Or if not, it's okay. But right now we want to be honest. What about your company savings programs like flexible spending accounts or health savings accounts? So if they are withholding for that, take a look at your pay stub and write the amount down there. And again, just remember that if you're getting paid twice a month, you're going to multiply times 2 to get the monthly amount, or times 12 to get the annual expense. Take a look at your retirement. How much are they withholding for your 401k, or are you putting money in an IRA? What about your 403b or your tax sheltered annuity if you're a teacher? What are they withholding there for your retirement money? And put that amount there. College tuition plans, like we've got also education savings accounts. You've got Section 529 plans. Are you putting money away for your kids? If you're not, that's okay. It's just what we want to see is we want to see where is the money going? And if you do want to do that, don't put the amount that you want to, put the amount that you really are, and then we can go back and take a look at that section and then do another webinar on, for example, how much do we need to put away for a college tuition plan. Next section that we have is charitable. We have a charitable section here because people forget that they do give money especially if they're going to church and giving on a weekly basis. What are you putting away? And usually you're going to get a receipt now from the religious institution that you go to. What about nonprofit? Are you giving money through nonprofits? Or sometimes you have payroll deduction plans that they withhold charitable deductions from work. And so you want to write that down, and any other amounts. For example, I know people that tell me all the time they're giving money away to people who are sometimes on a street corner asking for money for food or for shelter or whatever, and out of the kindness of their heart they'll give them actually cash. If you're doing this regularly, put that amount down as well. All right, we're going to head over to the next page here. And we're going to take a look at, actually it's the last page, and we're going to take a look at also personal credit. Now this is where I need to give you a little bit more explanation on personal credit. You want to write down what you're spending for on a monthly basis on your Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover Card, department stores like Nordstrom's or Macy's or whatever. But you have to be very careful here. This is where you don't want to double up, okay? So for example, if this month I'm going to Costco and I'm buying $200 worth of food items, and I've already put it under food, I don't want to put that $200 American Express bill here because I'm doubling up, right? So what you want to do, put here on a monthly basis, is anything that's old that you're still paying off, that you didn't pay off, that's beyond a year. So again, if I bought some furniture 2-3 years ago and I'm still making payments on it, I'll put the expense here. But just be careful that you're not doubling up on the expenses here. Other things that you're going to put here are school loans, personal loans. If any family members have lent you any kind of money and that you're paying them back, you're making loans back to your 401k if you had some retirement loans. Also, credit card fees and banking fees. Those can add up, and write that amount down. So as you can see so far, I mean, we're almost done, but there's so many things that we forget when we're doing a day-to-day budget or just a monthly budget, or you're working with a financial planner over a couple of months. Because I find that most people will not do a budget more than a couple of months long. They forget about all these other fees that can add up. And again, they can add up to substantial amounts of money. Next section that we have is work-related items, such as you may have to take continuing education for your profession, and you may have to travel for that continuing education class, or you have conference fees. Write that amount down if you're not reimbursed. Now, if you're being reimbursed by your employer, obviously you don't want to write that amount down. It's only if you're unreimbursed, okay? We've got membership dues and subscriptions to magazines or websites that you have that you need for information. You got union dues, professional license fees, uniforms, tools. It could be shoes that you need for work if you're a nurse or working in a specific manufacturing plant. And other unreimbursed expenses, I don't know. I mean, it could be where you're buying pens and paper and you're using it for work, but you never get reimbursed. So whatever you're spending, write it down. Next section that I have is for professional fees. People always forget that if they're getting their tax return done by a preparer every year, there's a fee there, and so you got to write that down. Or if you're paying a financial planner, or you have legal fees that you have to take care of. You're going through divorce and you're paying legal fees, or for whatever. You're using a therapist or a counselor for family therapy or counseling. Put that down. Put that down right there exactly. And any other professional fees that I've forgotten, write it down. And I have a miscellaneous section here that is important because we might have missed something, and what we've missed sometimes is just having pocket money. Sometimes I'll have $10 in my pocket, and at the end of the day, that $10 is gone. I don't know where I've spent it. Sometimes it could have been on snacks, but I don't even remember. So, if you're carrying pocket money and it's $20-$30 a week, and it's gone, if you got it on Monday and it's gone by Friday, and you're saying, wow, I'm spending $30 a week and I don't even know where it goes, write that amount down on a monthly basis, on an annual basis. What if you're paying alimony? Or what if you're helping extended family members, where you're helping your parents or siblings, you've got nieces and nephews that you're helping out. It's really important to think about how are you helping them out. I've got clients that help out with their nieces, like, for example, for their prom or winter formals, and they'll pay for that. Write it all down. I added here postage and shipping because one time I was thinking about I was looking at all the bills, and my wife usually pays all the bills, and she was sending them out and putting postage on there, and I said, wow, how much do we spend on postage? And I realized it was expensive, and so you're spending some money on it on an annual basis, or if you're shipping stuff off during Christmas, whether it's FedEx or UPS, and you've got expenses there, write that stuff down as well. Okay? And I put a couple of others there on that miscellaneous section in case I haven't forgotten. And the last but not least, which is the biggest section, are your taxes that you pay on an annual basis. Your federal, state, city, local taxes, FICA's your Social Security taxes, Medicare portion. I put SDI because here in California we have the state disability taxes that we have to pay that come out of our paycheck. And a lot of it you can find at the year-end W-2, or you can find it on your pay stub and multiply it by the number of times you get paid per year. Or you can find a lot of what you actually are paying in federal and state taxes on your tax return. Now, remember, it's not at the end of the year whether you're getting a refund or what you're going to owe to the government. It's what you actually paid. It'll be the tax liability section, okay? So we've gone through the world's greatest budget. A lot of work here to do, but I will share with you that working with clients over the last 20-something years, almost 30 years, this is one of the biggest eye-opening projects, homework things that I give my clients, and they come back and they're astonished as how much money is going out on an annual basis. And I will share with you that one of the biggest problems is that we have these unconscious spending habits, and once they become conscious, once we know where the money is going, we can then seriously take a look at what we can do to stop some of the expenses that really just wants and aren't needs, and we can focus on what's important in your life and then start moving the money towards really accomplishing your most important life goals. So the world's greatest budget, here it is. It's my gift to you. Go ahead to my Facebook page, do a printout of it. If you have any questions on it, go ahead and send me an email at info@luisbarajas, and we'll see you at the next webinar.